What's up, guys and girls? Welcome back to another Impulsive TCG video. Today, I just kind of want to discuss a couple things I've been seeing in the market, some people's concerns and thoughts on where the current state of the market is. And today I just kind of want to talk about why you look around and you're like, there's all these reprints, there's Pokemon trying to catch up. Why are things so overprinted and so much product exists? And yet it still feels like stuff is maybe undervalued. Like stuff can be priced lower than what you think it should be. And I just kind of wanted to explore why that is, why some people think things are undervalued, and even though there's a ton of supply out there comparatively to, say, Skyridge, it is still undervalued comparatively to meet demand. Like people are going to want this stuff, so I just wanted to explore that a little bit today in today's video. So yeah, let's get into it. So first off, I want to talk about the overprinting side. So where does the overprinting come from? And obviously, the simple answer is it comes from Pokemon. The more exact reason that there's overprinting is they're meeting demand. They want to meet the demand of people because if there's demand for the product, they're a company that's going to make profit. They're going to want to make as much money as possible to, make shareholders and people in the company happy. So they're going to print as much as possible without trying to flood the market. They've done this before where they flooded the market with product and nobody wanted it and it sat on shelves. This was back in Chilling Reign time, right after Evolving Skies and things like that. They printed, and it caused such an increase in demand because there was too much available. This product, as much as people don't like to, admit it, it involves scarcity to a degree where people want to collect stuff that other people don't have. It's just a human thing. It's a monkey brain thing that us as humans have. And Pokemon knows this, so they're going to keep right at the demand where things are. People don't like to hear it, but Pokemon likes things being sold out. They don't really care who buys it, whether it's scalpers or regular collectors. It doesn't really matter to them because it's all the product getting bought. Now, obviously, they're going to try and put limits to limit the scalping that people can do, but ultimately, they don't really care who buys it. If somebody buys one ETB on the Pokemon Center and then flips it, it's still one ETB sold to them. So they're going to overprint to match that demand because there's so much of it right now currently in the market. They want people to be able to get ETBs and booster boxes and stuff like that, but ultimately they don't really care where those items go. They just know it will go into the market and somebody will end up buying it. If it gets bought off their website, that's fine. They sell out all the things they need. They make all their money. They meet quotas and everything that they need to say, I met this quota, I met this goal, and they don't really care where it goes. So that's kind of where the overprinting side of this comes from, is that Pokemon is just meeting demand. And now that it's been 8 months since the Pokemon announcement in January, it's 7-8 months now, they're going to start printing. I think I know people are scared of reprints and all that, but I genuinely think Pokemon's not going to print too much more of things because ultimately they like this. They like things being sold on Pokemon Center. When things was sitting on the website for months and months, that means they're having warehouses that they're having to pay to hold all this product that ultimately isn't being sold or at a very slow rate. So Pokemon likes this. That's why they're overprinting. They're just meeting the demand. Hey, sorry for interrupting the video. I'll continue here, but if you could like and subscribe, it would help me out a ton. I'm trying to get this channel up to 100 subs by the end of September for my birthday. It would help me out a ton. Thank you. Get back to the video. Now, the next thing you might be telling yourself is, Impulsive, how is it, if it's overprinted, how is there still demand? How is it undervalued? And that right there. Notice how I said there was still a ton of demand, so Pokemon's printing to that? That demand is a lot of times coming from collectors. People want to collect it. There's more collectors in this hobby now, more than ever. There are tons of people that want to see these cards in binders. More than any other time, I think, in Pokemon history besides maybe the 90s when it first came out. It is huge right now. And Pokemon knows this. Pokemon knows this, and that's why, like I said, they're meeting demand. But because of that, cards can still be undervalued just because there's a lot of demand. If Pokemon continues to grow, it means the current rate of cards will be smaller compared to the future rate of cards. And if it grows like that, that means there's less supply of this old stuff than there is of the new stuff, which means Pokemon or people in the future will want to collect the old stuff. And once stuff gets into collections and people aren't wanting to sell it and they want to keep it, and this is my card forever, I'm not selling this, that card's never going back into circulation. It is out of the print. It is in somebody's collection. And like I said, there's more people than ever collecting now because of the increased demand and increased exposure to Pokemon. So that's how things are still undervalued even at the current market prices of what things are at. Because, even though it's not MSRP, which, I think things should be MSRP if they can be. But that's why I think still things are good buy-ins, if investments, if you're looking at it in a long-term picture, because eventually stuff will be eaten through. Supplies will be gone, and in a couple of years things will be way more expensive than they are now. A poster collection for Prismatic in 5-6 years, we were like, oh, it's $30 now for a poster collection. It's like, realistically, that'll be $100 box. It's crazy to think, but that's very real possibility, is that it'll be $100 box, and it's undervalued now. Even though it's being printed a ton, and Pokemon wants more people to have the product, it's just how the market will work and how the cycle kind of works. So yeah, that's why, if you have a long-term view of Pokemon and as a whole, just because something's overprinted, whether it's a card, whether it's a set itself, the sealed collections, things will go back up because eventually time will decrease supply of things. Whether it's the cards or the sealed collection especially, those will eventually just go down naturally as people open them or put them in collections. They just will go down in supply. This is a normal thing. Just because it's overprinted or oversaturated doesn't mean that it's not a good value. Like I said earlier, Chilling Reign was hyper printed. They printed so much of them. I think people were able to get them $75, $80, $85, $90 for a booster box. 36 packs of Chilling Reign. They have some gorgeous alt arts in there. But still, it was $75, $80 for a box. Nobody wanted it. It just sat on shelves. Distros couldn't get rid of it. People had to call people, get things removed and moving off the scene, basically. But you know what? It's now a $400 booster box. $400. $350, $400, $450. Insane amount of growth and potential that box had, but it was overprinted at the time. But eventually people want it. Crown Zenith ETBs, they were like $40, $50. They were overprinted, but I think people underestimated how much demand there was. There was a ton of demand, and eventually, once Pokemon stopped printing them, demand started increasing, price started going up because supply started decreasing. They were overprinted though, but they were undervalued. People underestimated how much people would love the set and didn't take an approach onto that. But yeah, that's why, just because something is overprinted, long-term, as long as you have a long-term view of it and a mindset that you're looking for multiple years down the road, most stuff is still undervalued. So yeah, that's Pokemon for 2025 in a nutshell. It's overprinted. They're going to print a ton. They're probably even going to print a little bit more now. It's overprinted to some. But in the same aspect, I think it's undervalued. I think there's still a lot of growth that Pokemon will do over the next 3 to 5 to 7 years that people aren't seeing into the future. They don't understand 7 years. I mean, that's a long time. Think about it. I was in high school 7 years ago. That's a long time to think about. But for a lot of people, the growth is worth it. It'll beat out the S&P 500. It'll beat out certain stocks. It'll be worth it for a lot of people to have that long-term mindset, but most people just don't. It's a fact of life that most people don't see that far in advance, and most people don't get to talk about the gains that they get because they've flipped it for $100 more. It happens, but I think things are still undervalued. And let me know what you think in the comments. Greatly appreciate anyone talking, or we'll see what people think, and I'm just curious what everyone else's opinion on it. So yeah, if you liked it, thank you. Appreciate y'all. Take care.